LinkedIn has huge potential at the moment. And Facebook, I think, is pretty much dead.
LinkedIn is also kind of a social capital.
The first and best tip to give everybody who struggles with content creation is just talk about what you're doing. Going viral usually doesn't help you because what helps you is having a quality network.
If you post, you don't even know how much closer you are to the client.
People buy from people. And by becoming a person on the anonymous internet, it's way easier for people to relate. The most important thing is consistency. That's a super secret. But with your formatting, you can create some sort of branding.
I think I will re-evaluate my own LinkedIn strategy a little bit. Welcome to another podcast episode of Masterful.info. Today we have a very interesting topic about building a personal brand on LinkedIn with an expert, Sebastian. Hi, Sebastian.
Hey,
how are you doing?
I'm fine.
I'm excited to learn so much about LinkedIn.
Likewise, I'm excited to be here, man.
Great, awesome. Why LinkedIn? How did you end up in LinkedIn?
As many things these days, I think everything started with Corona. Basically, the great equalizer. Basically, at the time, like I was in Thailand, sitting on an island, and Corona hit. And then first it was all funny, and then like 1 week in, I realized, fuck, I've got like my two income streams and my two businesses are based on like travel related, right? Are based on travel. So basically, one day to the next day, both businesses basically died, right? There was like 80% in one and the other one basically to zero, like income crashes there.
That's really tough.
Yeah. So I was sitting on Thailand on this island with my now wife. It's like, okay, shit, I got to do something, right? So I need to hustle. And what am I going to do? I need to generate some cash. And the best option was to just revamp my web design agency. Mm-hmm. Which I kind of had forever, but never really had like a little job here and a little job there. And but I never really worked with it actively. But that seemed like the best thing to do. And also, I mean, with everything shutting down, I was always remote. I was always a digital nomad, but with everything shutting down, LinkedIn basically was the option to generate leads. Right, like there's nothing else out there, and at the time I probably had like 200 connections on LinkedIn or something. So very very small platform, and that's when the whole journey for me started, and the whole steep learning curve for me started as well to everything that's going on there.
That's an incredible story, I think, at least the start of it. So how was your experience? Was it like you said, it's a steep learning curve? Were you expecting it much easier and then surprised about how difficult it is? Or
Absolutely. With so many things in marketing, marketers are usually good at marketing themselves. So meaning you always get like these how to do this and how to do that and blah, blah, blah. And everything is like, this is easy and this is easy. And basically for LinkedIn, also back then, there were like these two schools of doing like outreach, basically cold outreach, like pestering people in their DMs versus creating warm inbound leads with content. And being an introvert and being a coder, basically, I'm like, I don't like, what people that come to me, that sounds very, very good.
Yes.
Right? And then, you read these, blog posts or do the courses and people always are like, this is going to be easy. Just do this. And, leads will come in automatically. And then I sat down there and I tried to write my first LinkedIn post. And I don't know, it took me like 2 hours. I posted it. It was crap. All I heard was crickets. Like it was completely pointless, basically. And then you're supposed to post like, 5 times, 7 times a week. And I'm like, this doesn't scale. I suck at copywriting. What should I do?
Yeah.
And
I know this feeling.
Hence the big problem of LinkedIn content creation was born for me.
Yes, for me, it's the same. I had this journey of trying and stopping, doing it, and then trying again, because you have your core business, you have so many other things to do. And then if you post, you don't even know how much closer you are to the client, to a potential client. And so how was your experience? Did you solve the issue? Did you solve all the challenges? Was it difficult?
It was quite difficult and it took quite a long time. So by now, I'm down to less than 10 minutes per post. And they are much better written than I ever could with the help of AI. So that's like the result. But the journey to get there was quite lengthy and quite long. First of all, there was no AI in 2020. And I mean, we kind of got like, GPT-3 in 2022, I believe, or 2023. And then I started tinkering with that, but it was still crap. The output was just generic, bloated stuff, right? That wouldn't really work on LinkedIn. So just because of that transition, it took quite a while to get it down. In the meantime, like because AI wasn't working, I was still trying to improve my processes by learning, strategies, learning skills, utilizing like cheat sheets and viral templates, and did like a ton of courses, spent like money on coaches and trainings and all of that to try to get better. Yeah, lots of learning, which slowly got me better and better at it. And eventually, which basically led me to eventually start my own tool to kind of like solve the problem. Because what I was finding out early is that I learned a couple of strategies that I'm happy to talk about after. But then I ended up having several tools, right? I had one tool for scheduling. I had one tool for analytics. I had a Excel spreadsheet, and I hate Excel, and it's probably the most uncreative environment that one can potentially work in. Then I had a Notion database. I got like all these tools to handle the process, and it kind of sped it up, but it also made it more complicated. So just from that annoyance, the idea to basically build an integrated tool that would handle all of this was created. And then AI came along, and then we started to tinker with that and basically put that on top of it. And that, like, eventually this like made the real difference, to be honest.
That sounds amazing. So what do you think our audience will profit from this episode in the end? Like, can they, first of all, how valuable is LinkedIn for entrepreneurs nowadays, you would say, in general? And which kind of knowledge will you give them during the course of this episode?
Great question. So we can, like, happy to start out by talking a little bit about the potential of the platform, which to me currently is one of the, probably with TikTok, the most interesting social media platform to be on, especially for and the one to be on for in a B2B context, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm also like happy to give like all these strategies that I've learned about like content types, content creation, the common problems that you run into and how you can solve this. And a little hint on like what's working with AI, what's working well, what you need to be careful about, like all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So ideally, I think the ideal outcome for me would be that the listener goes away from this and knows what he needs to do to build his personal brand on LinkedIn and how to tackle the challenge that is content creation. And ideally kind of like knows what's involved and what he's looking at when he needs to do that. And hopefully I can give a few insights on, making the listener's learning curve less steep than mine was and give a bit of a jump start there.
That's amazing. I think our listeners, they will appreciate that. And I will appreciate it myself. I have been looking forward to learn more about LinkedIn. So let's jump into it. So we discussed, like you said, potential for software as a service companies and B2B in general. And yeah, whoever wants to sell their services to other companies or software or anything else, LinkedIn, there is probably not much of alternative to LinkedIn for this kind of business. I think in general, what I've heard from others, LinkedIn is also kind of a social capital. So even if you target B2C consumers, but whenever you are searching for partnerships and they look at your LinkedIn profile, and if you have many followers, then they are like, oh, yes, you are on a higher level, you are a serious business, you are a serious entrepreneur. So they are more open to work with you.
Yeah. So let me start a bit from the beginning there, because I'm really excited about this topic. And the thing is, like, we live in unprecedented times, and never before was it possible for a single human to reach thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people by their own means, right?
Yes.
So only 20 years ago, this was basically only possible if you're a head of state or if you owned the BBC. Maybe 20 years ago, you could already technically have an email list or something, but you know what I'm saying. So
yes.
Social media just put this on a whole different level. And for B2B, definitely LinkedIn is the platform. They've crossed 1 billion users end of last year. And the amazing part about this is that I looked it up, I think 2 weeks ago, and 21 million posted something in the last 30 days. Mm-hmm. And I read today that only 3 million are posting regularly. Not the best at math, but 0.03 or 0.003% of people are only utilizing the platform. It's not even the classical, 1% spreader to 99% consumers. We're not even there yet. So just because of that, LinkedIn has huge potential at the moment. And LinkedIn is also one of the platforms that still makes it like fairly easy to go viral if that's your goal. I don't think it should be the goal necessarily for everybody. Depending on your goals on the platform, going viral might do nothing to you. But just by the way it works, if you've jumped a few hoops, basically, LinkedIn will start to show your content outside of your network.
Oh, that's nice.
It's a lot easier than on the more established ones like Instagram. And Facebook, I think, is pretty much dead when it comes to this anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I think on Instagram, it's like everyone is a publisher. So it's you are competing against billions of people. On LinkedIn, yeah, people are more passive, but still it's such a central social media platform for most of people, because it's also used as CV and for job search and stuff. You mentioned whether you need going viral. So let's view it from the strategic point of view. What should be the goal usually, and what should be like the strategy of that? Because I think if we just post randomly, that will not lead to the success.
Absolutely. There's many things that you can do wrong. Posting randomly about random topics in random styles, just randomly during time, is definitely one of them. When it comes to goals, it's usually like, what are you doing and what is your business doing and what are you offering? So if you want to be a creator on the platform and an influencer on the platform, then obviously going viral is a goal that you should pursue. Mm-hmm. If you are, like most people, you are a freelancer, coach and consultant looking to generate leads or nurture the leads or activate the network. If you are an entrepreneur looking for basically everything from employees to, just showcasing what you're doing, like that kind of stuff. It's usually going viral usually doesn't help you, because what helps you is having a quality network.
Yes.
So think if you have 100 people or 1,000 people that are really strongly interested in what you're doing and have the pain that you have the solution for, or really care about what you're doing, is way more worth. And probably, let's say you're a freelancer or a consultant. If you have 1,000 people that kind of like are interested in what you're doing and have the need, this is more than you can ever cater for in your life. So what I'm trying to say with this is it's much more important to build a quality network than to build a huge network. And to me, followers and impressions are more a vanity metric on the platform for most people out there.
That's interesting. So yeah, for the audience, for those who maybe don't know that, but usually you need several interactions with the same target audience in order to gain trust, in order to bring them from being acquaintance to a client. And the range is like from 8 to 16 times. I've heard those numbers. So that's the value of nurturing your already existing network and slowly expanding to more similar target audience. it's a good way, to gain trust by publishing quality content. They see, okay, you understand your niche, you understand your topic, and then they are more likely to buy from you. And as you said, if you have thousands, then even that is already quite good number, because they will see, and some of them will continuously get interest in you. And of course, if you have like a strategy where you probably need also like this call to action sentences and stuff. So not only, but we will dive deeper into content later. So if you have proper strategy with that, then you will be able to generate pretty decent revenue from such a small number of followers, because in other channels, even like with 50,000 followers or subscribers, you can't live from that. But if you are a B2B business, you can earn so much more with each client, so it can be really worth it. So what should you do as a strategy?
So what you want to try to do in almost all cases is you want to nurture your leads. Basically, you prime them that they already know what you're about, who you are, kind of like also how you behave. Imagine it this way. You go into the first call with a client and they already know exactly what you're doing. They already have a clear picture of who you are, how you talk. And basically, in the ideal case, all they need is a little confirmation on a few questions and you can close the deal. That's like the ideal outcome.
Wow.
Right? And content can do that. Content does not sell, but content primes your leads to this stage, right? So what most people get wrong, maybe that's a good aside here, is they think like, but just posting content, I will start selling. That's in 99% of the cases, that's not what's going to happen. You need to engage with those people in the comments. You need to engage with people that commented in the DMs. You need to give value by offering a freebie, getting them into an email list. So you need to build on that relationship. But the task, or what ContentIn will still do for you, is it will keep you top of mind, because you're constantly saying something, you're constantly popping up. It will nurture them. People will know what you are about. It will make you unique. It will make you memorable. That's the power of a personal brand. I mean, think about this. Like the big brands of the world have spent the last 70 years trying to become more personal, more like a person, right? And now we are all persons, and all we have to do, quote unquote, is just go out there and tell about what we are doing. Right? And that's also, now that I mentioned it, that's also a good thing. It's better to just say what you're doing instead of like, because that's not bragging, you know? That's a very easy, probably the first best tip to give everybody who struggles with content creation is just talk about what you're doing. Don't make up huge success stories, or just talk about your daily wins or how you tackle a specific problem, and that kind of stuff. And with this, you're always humble, you're always down to earth, you're always seeing eye to eye. And it's very easy to talk about these things. Yeah, much like you tell your friend at the end of the day, or your wife at the end of the day, what you've done. A very simple way to create content.
I have some clients, they have like the same problem over and over. So several clients have the same problem. So I sometimes share that knowledge so that it seems like it's a common problem, so that people avoid this. And so you said you were offering web design services on LinkedIn. It sounds like a very competitive market, because there are a ton of different agencies. How did you stand out?
Yeah, when I was still doing it, my thing was that I was offering MVPs, basically MVP development.
Yes, minimum viable product.
Exactly. So I niched down basically on the product level, if you want to call it that, because I also like from personal interest, I didn't want to. The other niching down would have been to like a certain product type, or a certain client type, and I kind of didn't feel like that. I wanted to do like multiple things, like various things. So that was my strategy there. What I didn't fully understand at the time, to be honest, when I was still posting content, like now I switched my profile entirely to ContentIn, which is the SaaS tool. At the time, I didn't fully understand how to talk about clients' pain points and how to do it in a way, there's only so many pain points that you cater to and only so many pain points that you have solutions to. And eventually you need to figure out how to say or talk about the same stuff in 1,000 different ways without it becoming repetitive to you or to your audience. So this is something that I totally didn't understand back then. Could you give some tips for that? Yeah, back then I was like, I've written this post, I've said it all, haven't I? No. What we're going to do now. The thing is, the big idea that helped me there was that you can talk about the same thing in different styles. Mm-hmm. This is kind of where post styles come in. This was one of the first breakthrough moments that I have. This is also something to write down, that like you can talk about the same topic in a challenging way, in an educational way, in a motivational way, in an empathizing way. Let's see if we can come up with an example. LinkedIn content creation, right? Mm-hmm. And educational would be my 5-step framework to create epic LinkedIn content. And then you give like 5 good points. Empathizing way would be creating LinkedIn content is incredibly hard. Trust me, I've been there. Here's how I got out of the rut. This kind of like, again, leads into an educational thing with the last hook, right? But you grab them differently and you could also deliver differently. Like I've defaulted back to like here's how you can solve this, but you don't have to. Challenging. Yeah, so challenging could be when you, for example, like you challenge a common myth or a belief in your industry, like AI content does not perform on LinkedIn, which is totally bonkers. Right? Bad content does not perform on LinkedIn, but good content will perform. So it's just a matter of getting good content from the AI, basically. So this could be a challenging angle on the same content pillar, basically.
And if the same people see this kind of content that you said, like example, in different styles, will they get value from each of those posts, or how do you see it?
Yes and no. So I think different styles might cater to different people and also on different days. I always try to observe myself with this. And what I mean is, some days I need somebody who motivates me or just understands me. And an educational post that tells me how to do stuff might be like, yeah, get away. Like I'm already full. I don't need this today. Right. And on other days, I'm like, my energy is different. And I'm like, okay, I need the how to post.
Yeah.
So I think depending on the state that a user is in or a reader is in, the acceptance or the reception can be different.
It's important, I guess, to position yourself so that you are also kind of unique. If you just was a random or normal web design agency, then all your effort with LinkedIn would be less effective, probably. You would have the same amount of followers, but you wouldn't have as much revenue and as many clients, probably.
Yeah, this also took me a while to learn, but the beauty of a personal brand is that you, the person, makes it unique because you are unique with what you're doing. So you're not unique in being a web designer, but you being the web designer is unique. And ideally, your content kind of reflects that. A good thing is to, every once in a while, the common rule of thumb is like 3 or 4 to 1, meaning you post 3 or 4 authority posts, like educational posts, challenging posts, what I just talked about, on one social post. And a social post is where you talk a little bit about yourself, where you show some quirks, show a little behind the scenes, that kind of stuff. And these posts tend to get way more engagement, but they also, like, more importantly, they are the ones that kind of like make you memorable and make you unique. And the beauty is, like, on LinkedIn, you can be very selective about what you show. It's not like Instagram, so asses won't work. And Not necessarily a nice picture at the beach doesn't guarantee you any viral outcome, right? So you can very selectively choose parts of your personality that you want to share, but there's very powerful, like you can design your own persona. I'm not saying be fake. I'm just saying, don't share your whole life because nobody cares about it. I'm just saying share selective pieces that make you unique and make you memorable. The beauty or the idea behind this is that people buy from people. And by becoming a person on the anonymous internet, it's way easier for people to relate.
Yeah, that's a mind shift, kind of, because even if in a very competitive market, even if there are thousands of providers, if I know someone who is doing this, like I need a website, I know I have in my network someone who is doing it, whom I trust, who I know already, I rather go to this person and even pay a little bit more instead of trying to find to have interviews with thousands of people, and you don't know where to start. There are so many providers, so it's pretty overwhelming. So it's in both cases, it can work really well in both cases if there is a lot of competition or if you have a unique position in a small niche. That's amazing. I've heard that company pages, they don't work at all. Do you agree? You should do it with your profile, isn't it? With your personal profile.
Yeah, for the same reason. People buy from people. People are interested in people. Just look at the numbers. Look up how many followers Microsoft has versus Satya or Tesla versus Elon Musk. So this will just give you an idea of how powerful the personal brand actually is. I still have a company page. For my application, also for my agency. And I do post content because you build a little bit of trust, but I don't really give a lot of effort. So for my company page, I have 3 very fixed post formats that I do every week. And I just copy them over and fill in the blanks, basically. I'm just doing the same stuff. I'm not trying to build an audience there, really. I just try to have content there that when people come, they can check stuff and see stuff. And it's a good place to give feature updates and, what has happened this week, or to post the occasional testimonial.
Do people see those posts that you post on your page? Is it much less people see it compared to your personal profile? Or is just their reaction is different?
Both. So reaction is different because it's more anonymous, being the brand. I mean, this is hard to say, but I think that LinkedIn or the algorithm prefers personal profiles when they roll out stuff. Maybe bad tongues mention that maybe this is because they want to boost their ad revenue and want to make company pages pay for the exposure.
Yeah, with Facebook, it's similar. If you post something on your page, almost none of your followers will see it. And if you post it privately, then it's much better. So I think, it's probably both, But it makes sense, because people don't want to interact with pages, with companies. They want to interact with humans. It's a bit overwhelming for me. There's so many different types of content. And I wonder, should I stick to certain type of on LinkedIn, this feature, or should I do variation of different types of content? And also, if I, for example, post a video from LinkedIn, or if I just add a YouTube link from my video. So could you tell me a bit more about that?
I can. Many things that interlock. Let me take the last question first. With adding a link, I think if you add a LinkedIn link on the platform, a YouTube link in the post on the platform, I think LinkedIn will actually include that in the post. It will actually pull that video and make it part of the post.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure because I'm not doing this. But what I'm trying to say is, as a general rule of thumb, do not put links in your posts. Put them in a first comment, because LinkedIn or the algorithm doesn't like people going out of the platform. They are very much interested in keeping people on the platform, and they might penalize you if you have an outgoing link in your post.
And with penalizing, you mean just the post visibility will be difficult, or even the account can suffer?
No, just the post visibility. That's just about the post visibility. And in terms of content types, the most important thing is consistency. Meaning at the very minimum, post 3 to 5 times per week, but ideally post 7 times per week. You could even go so far as to post twice per day, but I only really recommend that in the beginning, just so you learn quicker what works and what doesn't. As a rule of thumb, quality over quantity. So once you know what's working, 3 to 5 minimum, 7 is better, 7 times, once per day. But yes, it all comes down to consistency. Why am I saying this? Especially when you're starting out, try to find a content version that you are able to create consistently. This could be video if you already have a video system set up. But for most people, it tends to be text in combination with, to make it look professional, in combination with some professionally shot images of oneself. That's like a classic that always works. Very well performing are obviously carousel and slideshows, but they take a ton of work. They take a ton of work to create. So what I suggest to get started is just pick something that feels easy to you, something that you think you can sustain and can produce at scale, 3 to 7 times per week. And then, especially in the beginning, just make it as simple as possible and just try to get the rhythm in and just try to get the consistency in. And then once you figure out what works, maybe you have like one post that performs extremely well. That's a very good option to repurpose it and maybe spend the extra effort to make a slideshow out of it, or make a short talking head video out of it, or that kind of stuff. So I would rather approach it from this angle and make it more complicated on the things where it's actually worth doing that.
Interesting. So speaking of what works, what do you think about viral posts in more detail? You mentioned it before. We saw with my business partner, he posts something really random about himself. He is tired or something, I don't know. And then suddenly it goes viral like crazy. And it feels like we should make more this kind of content. But I'm wondering if we are reaching the right type of people.
Absolutely. That's basically what I was saying. So for most people, going viral it doesn't really help. In your case, it might, because your target group are entrepreneurs. If that's, for the podcast, your business partner. And then this might help if you get a bit more reach and a bit more engagement, because you attract to a very broad set of people as well. Yeah, technically. Yeah. If you are a web developer and if you're attracting entrepreneurs, you're doing something wrong on the platform. You should definitely niche down to pet shop owners. Or something, right? Just because there's 1 billion people, and it's so much easier if you niche down to one very small set. It's so much easier to get those 100 or 1,000 people. It's just becoming the best at building websites for pet shops is so much easier than becoming the best at building websites, or relevant at building websites for everybody. And this is where viral doesn't make sense, really. Then again, bad example, because if you want to target pet shop owners, then there's probably so many cat gifs out there that will position you in that target group. But yeah, still, I hope you get the idea behind this.
If I post pet website related posts, then the right kind of people will like it and maybe share. Then I will expand. That's the next question. So those posts, are they seen mostly by my network, by my followers, or is it always a certain percentage outside of the network? And can I say, okay, this post generated 10, 50 new followers, that means it's amazing. So that's the right direction. Or if it's like, okay, I posted 10 posts and they didn't generate any new followers, so it's I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, great question. It's hard to connect new followers directly to a piece of content, because LinkedIn doesn't really allow that insight.
Yeah, at least if you don't do anything else, then you can assume that it's from the posts you are posting.
True, to a certain extent, because the LinkedIn algorithm is very good at serving the content to people that it thinks it's relevant to. And it does do that over days. So if you have a good post, it might still be popping up in feeds 4 days from now. If you have since then another 3 posts live, it's again a bit tricky to make that correlation.
Yeah.
But what you can measure is impressions and engagement. And what's important to understand is how the LinkedIn algorithm works. Like, there've been voodoo books written about this, and I think that's completely besides the point, but the basic mechanic is important to understand. And the basic mechanic is that the LinkedIn algorithm will roll out your content in chunks. Basically, you post something and it will show your post to a subset of your users, and depending on your followers, and depending on how they engage with that piece of content, if the algorithm thinks that was a success, it will roll it out to another chunk, a slightly larger chunk, and another chunk. And depending on your followers, how many followers you have, eventually you will break the barrier and your post will be shown outside of your network. And that's when you have a chance to become viral. And the cool thing about LinkedIn is you can go viral with like 500 followers or 1,000 followers, just because of that mechanic. If you have a great piece of content, it might work. So this is why, followers and impressions are kind of a vanity metric. So to me, impressions follow engagement. Meaning what I look out for is to create content that creates engagement. And what we use in ContentIn, in my application to measure this, is an engagement score. So basically, for every 100 views, you get 1 point. For every like, you get 1 point. For every comment, you get 2 points. And for every share, you or that post gets 3 points. And based on that, basically, we score and rate the post. And that if you do that for your own stuff, it will put you on a range where you can kind of like know, okay, like this was a dud and this was a win. And then you can kind of like react to this and iterate on it as you like. Very important part, by the way, of like any serious content approach on LinkedIn is to measure your stuff and iterate on it and find out what works and do more of what works.
So is it only for posts that has been published and got those engagement signals? Or do you have also something like a preview? You create some post and it tells you how well you did it in advance before you post?
No, we're not doing that because that's very tricky to do, because it bases on a lot of parameters that are outside of our control, like your audience, right? You could have a good content audience match, meaning you already have like several thousand people that are relevant to your content, or you could not. Like in my case, when I switched from the agency to talking about content creation and personal branding on LinkedIn, I had like a few thousand people that I connected to as an agency owner. And now I started to talk about a completely different topic. And the LinkedIn algorithm was like, what's going on here? So basically, I started from zero. Even though I had like 4,000 or 5,000 followers, I started at zero, creating my followership. So it all comes down to how good that match is. And this is just very hard to predict from the outside. What we do, though, is we track your analytics and we measure how well a post has performed. And based on how well it has performed, we use it to train the AI in your style and improve it to write more like that.
That's amazing. So to summarize, now I understand that the consistency is so important on LinkedIn because, first of all, the type of content you post, it should be consistent, but also the network. If I have, for example, only entrepreneurs, it works better. And compared if I have like all kinds of people in my channel, in my network on LinkedIn, then I might be unlucky that the wrong type of people are being shown. Like my post will be shown to non-entrepreneurs. They don't like it. And LinkedIn assumes that no one will like this post.
Exactly. That was kind of the problem I had for a while.
So it's all about having a strategy in advance, to have the target audience, to be clear about the target audience, and to have some kind of content strategy and then continue doing it for a few months to see how well it performs. And then maybe you can adjust a little bit, but it's really difficult to change the complete target audience.
It's basically you start from scratch again, and
Wow.
like if you start from zero, or you haven't done any content really before, you have maybe a few hundred connections from your uni and from your workplace or something, and you just want to start and become serious with personal branding. If you feel like you don't get any engagement, like any real engagement besides your occasional friend or your coworker or something liking stuff, the best strategy to get there quickly is to find people who are relevant in your space already on the platform, meaning content creators that already target your target audience, and start commenting on their stuff. Start following them and commenting on their posts. And with that, you will slowly but surely get the followers that your content is also relevant for.
That's amazing. I was trying to comment in different groups, but I was surprised how little interaction is there. So groups probably are worse than just going directly to those people who have the same target audience.
I think groups are dead. The only reason I can think to look at groups is to, find like some targeted leads. Like basically people that already outed that they have a problem by joining a particular group.
Yeah.
And then using that in some sort of like outreach if you want to. But other than that, I didn't see any value in groups.
So if I start posting on groups or commenting, I will get network, like friend requests, but not from my target audience, more like from people who want to sell me something. So it's not so optimal.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was just describing, just the reverse.
Yeah. What do you think about just trying to connect with relevant people? Does this strategy work? Or
it does. It definitely does. Especially if I've for a long time run outreach campaigns as well on LinkedIn. And it can be also very beneficial for your content strategy in the beginning to just get these initial relevant followers, get these initial relevant people. As a rule of thumb, especially if you don't absolutely know yet what you're doing, do it manually. Spend the time researching and just do like 5, 10, 15 people per day. And you don't even need Sales Navigator for this. And you can do a standardized message, but that's like really authentic. And then you kind of adapt a little to every person. People are so fed up by these automated outreach sequences and being bombarded by messages on LinkedIn that it's almost easy to stand out these days if you do it manually.
Wow. Yeah, that's I can relate to that. I get so many requests. Okay, I look at their profile usually, and if it's some kind of service, then I don't accept that because I know they just want to sell me something. And that's a good gateway to mistakes and what you should avoid. Maybe you can elaborate a few other ways how you can do it wrongly on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so definitely over automation. Like I'm also using some automations myself, but I try to dial it to like there's a ton of stuff that you can automate on the platform. There's a ton of stuff that people will never know, like handling webinar invites or something that just make it very helpful for you. But like especially the communication with people over automation, crap.
Yeah.
AI commenting, unfortunately, still complete shite. It just like AI is notoriously struggling with creating good short pieces of content.
Yes.
And nobody has really solved this yet. I'm hoping to be able to solve this eventually because commenting is also such a powerful tool. But it does not work if it's generic AI content and people can spot this from a mile away, especially if you're on the platform for a little while. In terms of content creation, the big ones to avoid is salesy content. The big ones to avoid is, have no plan, just post random stuff at random times on random topics, because that's not how you build a personal brand, which is like the one thing that you're known for. Definitely get yourself some copywriting skills. This was my big one because I sucked at copywriting, right? It took me 2 hours at least to write a post. It sucked. Nobody engaged with it.
Yeah.
That was, yeah. So eventually I managed to solve this with AI and with ContentIn. Basically how we do it is it kind of acts like a ghostwriter would. So it interviews you a little bit and gets like the real wisdom insights from your brain and then creates epic copy for that. So the idea is that all I have to do as a user is what I'm doing right now. I'm just talking about the stuff that's my domain expertise or whatever that I'm happy to talk about anyways. It's very easy for me. And I don't have to think about how the heck do I get this into a nice hook line that makes people open the post and click that and then make that people to comment and stuff, right? All of this, the AI can do very, very well if you know how to use it. And then, if you spend another 2-3 minutes editing the result, so it like truly feels like you, then you're golden. And, with this way, I get like for a fresh post, it takes me less than 10 minutes. If I repurpose a post, something that I've written about 3 months ago that performed well, it's just a click of a button. And it will create like a completely new, fresh version out of this post, which is super amazing. So yeah, copywriting skills in general. Common mistakes is avoid low quality. Avoid low quality as in put out information that nobody cares about, but also put out the information in a way that's, if you can have the best content, if it's a wall of text, nobody's going to read it and nobody's going to engage with it, and it's going to flop. Right. So you also need this copywriting skills, and it can also be low quality in that sense. And avoid generic AI content from GPT. Again, much like the comments where it's even more obvious, people can spot it from a mile away.
Yeah, so it's not only about copyright skills in general. So it's more about specifically for LinkedIn because they are really good authors who can write amazing text, but because you don't have headings, you don't have like much structure, layout, it becomes pretty unreadable. One question about that, should I use emojis? Is there some kind of a general rule?
You can, but do it sparsely.
Yeah. Otherwise it looks like screaming. Huh?
Yeah. So it's not TikTok. It's not like calorie everywhere. But yeah, they can definitely help to spice up your content a little bit if you use them effectively. So I sometimes use none, 1, 3 per post. But it also depends a bit on your style. What I like to use at the moment is arrows instead of, just because listicles, bullet point lists are a very good way to converse information in a way so it's skimmable and easily readable. And then people get bored of having, just a dash or a minus. And then you can use like little Unicode arrows that work quite well. You can also very much like with your formatting, that's a super secret. But with your formatting, you can create some sort of branding. The absolute master of this is Jasmine Alich. He basically creates like these posts where, line lengths work like waterfalls up and down. And just by, the post just looks beautiful when you look at it. And you're just sucked into reading it just because how he formats it. And it becomes his brand doing that now, right? So this is quite powerful.
Amazing. So I'm pretty interested now about your tool. I think I would like to try it out. I have like 2 questions. Is it possible to outsource? Can I have my virtual assistant like create those content and then adjust that it's half AI and then half virtual assistant or my author? And they are like also. And another question, like it's two types of question. First, is it possible technically with your tool? And second, is it advisable?
Great question. So in general, the way or why I started building ContentIn was that, content creation sucks for me. I want to solve this. I want to make this easier for people. And obviously already back then, alternatives like human ghostwriters existed, but I couldn't afford them. And I couldn't afford good ones. And other alternatives like VAs also existed. And for me, the struggle there was a tried it, but I still had to edit a lot, go basically, make their stuff work so it sounds like me. They weren't quite good at adapting to my style. You have to set up this whole system of like feedback, of how to give input and all of this. So to me, this wasn't really a solution that felt scalable. What I'm aiming at with ContentIn is that you can do it yourself in 1 hour, in maximum 1 hour per week, to write your whole content for the week.
That's good, actually.
Right? So that's the idea. We create a strategic content plan for you. We fill it up with post ideas that you can use, or if you have your own ideas, please use your own ideas. And then there's a couple of ways how to turn these ideas into posts that feel authentic, that are well written, and that sound like you. One of them is the AI ghostwriter that I've described before. We also have a huge library of viral templates that you can use. Yeah, and basically we train the AI in the background in your style. So we learn from your edits, we learn from what worked well for you, like which posts performed well, and this all funnels back. So over time, it will get better and better and better.
That's incredible. And there is no risk of being penalized by LinkedIn with AI content?
There's this myth that AI content doesn't perform on LinkedIn, but yeah, it is a myth. For everybody who's doubting that, just check out Luke Matthews' profile. I think he's at 160,000 or 170,000 followers now, and he's been writing entirely with AI for 2 years now, I think. LinkedIn penalizes bad content. If you post generic content from GPT, you will just don't get the engagement, which means you don't get the impressions, which means you just hear crickets. The myth comes from LinkedIn penalizing bad content, but not from LinkedIn penalizing AI content.
And with penalization, it's not like it's very unlikely or impossible that they will just close your account because they think you are spamming or something. No,
you get like for spamming, like when they close or when they tell you something, it's more for automations in outreach that you run into these problems. I have not heard of a single use case where anybody got like banned or anything for content.
Yes. So yeah, we will link to your tool in the description. And I guess it's probably pretty simple to try it out, isn't it? Just go on the website.
Absolutely. Go on the website, 14-day free trial, so nothing to lose. Sign up. There's a very quick onboarding, but you should see, your first week of content filled up with content ideas in a matter of a minute or two.
So it will fill it out automatically, or how does it work?
Yeah. We're just going to ask you basically two questions. Who's your ICP or your target audience? And what are your content pillars? Content pillars meaning pain points of your target audience, their needs, your expertise, that kind of stuff. And based on this, basically, we'll create a strategic content plan for you out of the box.
Wow. I will try it out, definitely.
Please do.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. It was such a pleasure, so many insights, and I think I will reevaluate my own LinkedIn strategy a little bit.
Yeah, I'm happy. I hope I could deliver some value to the listeners, and I was very happy to be here. It was a fun conversation.
Thanks. Thank you to the listeners as well for listening, and see you next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.